And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us at the beginning of this new week as we once again zero in on the latest information on COVID-19 and its impact here in Orange County. This discussion today will include information on the formation of the Orange County Economic Recovery Task Force. Mayor Demings will fill us in on that with remarks. Today is Mayor Demings, Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer, Dr. Raul Pino, Health Officer from the Florida Department of Health, and to answer questions on what the rest of the school year will look like here in Orange County, we have Scott Howitt, Chief Communications Officer for Orange County Public Schools. We start with Mayor Demings. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Dr. Williamson, and thank you to all of you for being here this afternoon. I know that we had a bit of a weather phenomena here within our region, as many of our counties were impacted by the tornadoes of today. It really just puts a focus on the reason why it is important to get our hotels back operational, as well as we here in just a couple of weeks will enter that phase where we go into the hurricane season. Without the hotels, we cannot adequately shelter people in case of a storm. And so I know that time is of the essence for all of us here in the state of Florida as we work to prepare for the hurricane season that starts next month. So we look forward to working with all of our businesses in that endeavor. Orange County now has 1,204 coronavirus cases, which is up 15 cases from yesterday. We remain at 23 deaths, so if there's anything positive about the numbers that I just shared with you is that we only increased 15 cases from yesterday, and we had no new deaths involved in any of that. The average age of those contracting the coronavirus cases in Orange County is at 46 years old. And so far, there have been a total of 16,732 different tests that have been administered within the county, and admittedly, that's not enough. We still are not doing anywhere near the level of testing that we should be doing in this community, but we're limited by the availability of the collection kits, and we continue each day to look for an additional supply of collection kits from the state of Florida. Our heat maps show some of the coronavirus hotspots remain throughout the county, but there's still some significant hotspots in East Orange. Today, the State Department of Health opened a mobile temporary clinic at the J. Blanchard Park off Dean Road. In just a few moments, you'll hear from Dr. Pino, who will fill you in on how that went today. A reminder, these mobile test sites change every day, and an appointment is necessary in order to be tested there. All information for testing is available on our webpage at ocfl.net/coronavirus. On Friday, I announced the formation of the Orange County Economic Recovery Task Force, and it is chaired by the president of Visit Orlando, George Argell, and Tim Giuliani, the president of the Orlando Economic Partnership. My goal is to restart the local economy and do it with the guidance of all segments of our local businesses that have been impacted by the stay-at-home orders. They are tasked with protecting lives and livelihoods as we move forward. I want to note that through this entire pandemic, I have a great team of staff members here who have been really fielding calls throughout the entire industry, with industry leaders, I should say, including those who represent the healthcare industry, the attractions, hotels, resorts, and small businesses, to just name a few. The time to map our recovery really is now. Some people question whether we are too late, and the answer is simply no. Without data, it would have been a crapshoot to determine when and how we reopen businesses. We still endeavor to gain more data each day. This Wednesday morning, the task force will hold its first meeting. It will be held from 9 a.m. until approximately 10:30 in the morning, and it will be done virtually. This is a public meeting that will be streamed on Orange TV for our residents to watch. The task force members will be getting an update from the local hospitals on what they are seeing with the COVID-19 cases as we try to find a happy balance between the desire to open businesses and keep us safe at the same time. They will also hear from the theme parks that are doing some phased reopening. I'll give you an example. Shanghai Disney has opened a limited number of shopping, dining, and entertainment options while the theme parks remain closed. I want to caution our residents that they will have to be patient while the task force begins its work. We can't flip a switch and go back to the way things once were. It will take time, but our goal is to get our economy going as quickly as possible. After the pandemic passes us by, we're going to see a change in sanitation and cleanliness protocols across the globe forever. There will be federal, state, and local guidelines that we will have to consult to make sure businesses will be in compliance. We may have to require certain employees and businesses to wear masks, take temperature readings, and continue some form of social distancing. Workers will have to be retrained to handle the new normal. So as we work to get Orange County back open for business and actually the entire region back up and running, we will listen to the experts on our task force to make sure our recovery is unique to our community and that it is practical for our experience here within the metro area. It has been a long haul dealing with this virus. I know that all of you would agree with that. By order of the governor, children will continue distance learning for the rest of the school year, and we'll hear from Mr. Scott Howard with the Orange County Public Schools in just a moment to share more details with you about that. As I shift gears here a bit, let me talk a little bit about the need to ensure that we complete those census forms. It's important because as the federal government and the state begins to determine how the allocations of the various funds will be allocated throughout the nation and the state, population count will become very, very important. Programs such as school lunches, unemployment insurance, emergency management services, and hospitals have their budgets determined in many ways based on the census count. Most households have received their invitations to respond at this point. If you have not received your information in the mail for the census, you may find out information by going to the census website at my2020census.gov, my2020census.gov. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Dyer at this point to share additional details with you.
Thank you, Mayor Demings. Over the last few days, like Mayor Demings, I've heard from people in our community who want to open businesses and get back to work. And we can certainly understand that every person in our community wants to fast forward and get to our new normal. Although we're not exactly sure what that's going to look like or exactly when that's going to happen. But right now what we do know is that what we've been doing, which is staying home and practicing physical distancing and wearing face coverings, is what's going to get us to that next step. And I know there's a sense of urgency. I know that remaining patient, as Mayor Demings mentioned, gets more difficult every day. But abandoning that patience and stopping the progress that we've made will certainly endanger more lives. Continuing our collective efforts is what's needed now for the health and well-being of every single person in Orlando and Orange County. So it's going to keep our community moving forward. We've got to continue to make decisions that are based on data and based on science, with the goal of keeping the rate of infection low. We'll have to adapt quickly with that in mind, just as the state of Florida did this weekend when it announced that students would not physically return to school this year. And I know that decision to keep the schools closed is probably a relief to some and a disappointment to others. But the well-being of our children, their families, our educators, and school staff is certainly the right choice. And we know it's the right choice because teachers and parents are committed to ensuring that our students remain engaged in distance learning. That's an example of flexibility, which is critical. And it's going to remain critical in the coming days and weeks as we navigate a path to recovery, to our new normal. These are difficult and challenging times. We've said that over and over and over, and sometimes people tend to focus on the negative. But I continue to see the positive in our community, in each and every one of our residents' actions that have got us to where we are today with the curve flattening. Our success in flattening the curve is a direct result of our commitment to protecting ourselves and every person in our community. And this can't be ignored, so I want to repeat it again. Our success in flattening the curve is a result of our commitment to protecting ourselves and every person in our community. Let's use this as encouragement to keep doing what we've been doing. I want to thank everyone for your actions. We're fighting this virus together, and by doing so, we'll continue to move Orlando closer to the next step of reopening. Dr. Pino.
Thank you, Mayor. As Mayor Demings mentioned, we have 1,204 cases. 15,000, more than 15,000 people have been negative, and we continue to have 23 deaths, no new additions to that list. With regard to the mobile testing that we started today, at Blanchard Park, we closed at 3 p.m. Because our last appointment showed up. We did 140 cases today. We have capacity to do another 200. And it could be that, part of the issue was the rain that we have in the morning. But I want to let people know that we have plenty of capacity in the other testing that we will be continuing to do this week. Tomorrow, we are going to be at South Econ Community Park. Wednesday, we will be at Camping World Stadium. Thursday, we will be at Barnett Park. On Friday, we will be at West Orange Park. In each of those locations, at least we have 150 slots available for each of them. So please call 407-723-5004 to make your appointment. It goes very fast. People will not there for more than 4 minutes, in and out. And it was designed that way. That's why we did it through appointments, to be able to move people fast without long waiting lanes. So please, for those who may think that the appointments are taken, we have plenty of space to take you. Remember, we have no criteria of symptoms or any history of exposure. We are not asking for IDs. We don't ask for insurance, and there is no cost associated with our testing. The state will be absorbing the cost. And our call center is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you can leave messages on the weekend and they will be returned. Also, I know that some interest has been developed in the community and in the media with regard to long-term care facilities, as the governor encouraged the Department of Health to release the list of those facilities that had at least one case. That was on April 28th. All the facility listing is available on the State of Florida healthcovid19.gov website. And we had, in total, 17 positive cases so far in nursing or assisted living facilities. We have 2 deaths so far in nursing or assisted living facility. And we have 10 facilities that at least had a case. With that, I will answer any questions that you may have about that after I give the microphone to Scott Howard from the schools.
Thank you, Dr. Pino, and thank you, mayors, for your continued leadership during this crisis. On behalf of Dr. Barbara Jenkins, our superintendent, and Orange County School Board, we continue to focus on our 2 top priorities: making sure that our children are educated during this time, and also providing meals to every student in need. On Saturday, the governor announced that schools will remain closed through the remainder of the school year. Distance learning will continue for all 212,000 students here in Orange County through Wednesday, May 27th. Our hearts go out to all of our students, especially our seniors, the class of 2020. They never planned on spending their spring semester distance learning away from school, their friends, their teachers, their coaches, not able to participate in athletics, in arts programs, in special events typical for this time of year. We understand this is not the year that they imagined, and we want to assure them we are making every effort to recognize their commitment and hard work. We are finalizing our graduation plans. We will contact our seniors and their parents this week. We also understand how difficult it has been for our parents and families during this time. Juggling distance learning, work commitments, employment concerns, and the stresses of daily life during this time. We appreciate their commitment to their children and distance learning. We want to send a special thank you to our teachers. We are so grateful for their commitment to their students and taking on the challenge of distance learning. We appreciate our principals and administrators who have been working through issues and problem solving with parents and staff. Our food service employees have been amazing. They've been on the front lines making sure our students have the meals they need throughout this crisis. And we want to give a special thank you to our employees who are working remotely, keeping our district safe and running during this time. We are working on plans to allow staff and students to retrieve personal items that may have been left behind at school or the workplace. Please don't attempt to gather those at this time. We will roll out plans to our families and staff to make that happen. We continue to see a lot of activity through distance learning, 1.6 million logins, 2 million assignments, 34,000 videos. It's been amazing, the work that our teachers and students have done. While our middle schoolers and high schoolers had a much easier transition to this, it's been more difficult for elementary schoolers. Just know that we are rolling out and have rolled out an additional 2,281 devices to our elementary school students, 4th and 5th graders, specifically those in Title I schools. That effort will continue for the remainder of the year. We will continue to roll out devices. We're averaging about 60,000 printed student learning packets per week, and we're continuing to get those out to those families that don't have devices or Wi-Fi access. We are finalizing plans for summer school distance learning opportunities for our students. We know how important it is for our students to continue learning beyond the regular school year. Last week, our Grab and Go meal distribution program exceeded 1 million meals distributed, actually 1.2 million in just 4 short weeks. A week ago, we began meal distributions for our students experiencing homelessness. We do that on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Our staff delivers meals to 7 housing locations around the county. Beginning this week, to further help protect our community, employees, in an effort to conserve resources, are implementing a 3-day per week meal distribution, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, at our 52 sites. Meals for Tuesday and Thursday will be given on Monday and Wednesday, and meals for the weekends will happen on Friday, just as a reminder. Meals for students, just want to emphasize too that these meals are for our students that are in challenging circumstances, that are struggling, their families are struggling, and need that extra assistance and extra food. In addition to keeping, additional measures to keep our individuals at home, we are adjusting our school and district office hours and days of operation to limit the exposure of employees and families. Beginning this week, all school sites and district offices will be closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays while work for the district continues remotely. We have already made arrangements for the vast majority of our employees to work from home. Also, a reminder that our schools are closed, or when they are closed, and and we have very limited staff there. Our campuses are still secured 24/7. We have security cameras, voice monitoring, sound monitoring. We want to make sure that everyone knows that we're keeping our campuses secure and safe during this time. In closing, just wanted to share a couple of things. Our mental health services team has a helpline available for students and parents Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The phone number is 407-317-3694. That's 407-317-3694. Also on our health advisory link on the front page of the district website, you can access information about that. We also have a helpline set up for our employees as well, and they can access that on the intranet. And of course, anyone can always dial 211 and call that anytime they're experiencing a crisis or an emergency. Please don't forget to visit our website at ocps.net. If you need any information, any updates, you can follow us on Orange County Public Schools on Twitter or Facebook. We appreciate the time. Thank you, Mayor Demings, and stay safe. I'll turn it back over to Mayor Demings.
Okay, to Scott with the school district, 3 of my 5 grandchildren are in elementary, and 1 is in middle school. So I've seen my sons and their wives doing more homework lately than I have ever seen them doing it. So I know that there's a bit of anxiety with all of our children about not going back to school, but I believe that this is the appropriate decision that the school district and the state has made in that regard. Before we go to questions, I want to point out that Orange County Commissioner Maribel Gomez-Cordero is here. She's fluent in Spanish, so with the Spanish-speaking media, if there's any questions that you all have, the only thing we ask is that whenever the speaker is up, ask all of your questions of that speaker at the time, if you can. And with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Mayor Jerry Demings, Jerry Askin, Channel 6.
I know, man.
Sorry, forgot my name here. So how often will that task force meet? And second question there, states like Georgia are opening this week, we're told. Have you all told Ron DeSantis, the governor, when you all want to reopen?
Well, they have to have all of the data presented to them first, and then there'll be a conversation. So that will come. We will look at our very unique experiences here, and there likely will be some type of phased opening, and we'll let them do the work. How long will they meet? I expect that they'll meet for the next several weeks at the least. It could be 30 days or so. And they may continue to meet even after there's any type of reopening to make sure that we are being as responsive as we should be as a community. Again, they're working across the region. We have a representation on our task force from Osceola, Lake, and Seminole counties as well.
Eric Sandoval with Channel 6 and ClickOrlando.com. I have 2 questions, and I'll just address the first one to you, Mayor Demings, and possibly you, Mayor Dyer, as well. On Friday, we had that protest outside the County Commissioner's Hall here. Over the weekend, protests continued, and now we've learned another one is planned for Orlando on Saturday at Lake Eola. Do you have anything to say about the growing pressure to reopen and these mass gatherings, which social distancing seems to be forgotten or ignored?
We addressed that at the prior press conference in terms of people taking greater risk than perhaps they should. That's on them if they want to expose themselves, but it looks a little odd to me when they expose their family members. I wouldn't want to do that. In terms of pressure, I don't see it as pressure. These are individuals that have a right to express themselves, and they're doing that. In terms of the decisions that we will make, it will be based on the medical science and that conversation that we will have with the business community. what they're doing really has very little to no effect on that decision-making process.
All the decisions that are being made locally and hopefully on the state level as well are based on data, based on science, based on what the healthcare professionals are telling us. And we know absolutely that what we've done in terms of social distancing and staying at home and wearing masks has helped to flatten the curve, because the anticipation 2 weeks ago was much more dramatic than what we've seen over the course of the couple weeks. So we certainly don't want to go backwards from there. And then in terms of Lake Eola, I'm not aware that anybody's tried to get an 18A permit, which you need to have to gather, and we're not renting the park for gatherings, so I'm not sure that's going to happen.
My other question is for Dr. Pino. With 140 tests you said that were conducted at Blanchard today, and you made mention that there might be some thought of rolling out more testing to more locations. Is there any movement on that?
Well, all will depends, as we always said, about the change of supply that we may have of testing kits. I have enough secure for this week. If the number continue now to go to the max, we'll probably be able to have some residual from this week that then we will talk to the mayors to see where they would like that targeted testing. The mayors were also exploring the possibility, if we get enough test kits, to be able to do more surgical strikes, if you want to call it, in specific areas depending on what the data is telling us.
So you could expand the locations?
We could.
Okay.
Kelsey Thord with West 2 News. My question's for Mayor Demings. At the beginning of this press conference, you talked a little bit about how you don't think that there's the amount of testing that we need right now, but then we're hearing from Dr. Pino that there's these sites that aren't reaching their full capacity every day. What do you mean by exactly what amount of testing do we need, and what's it going to look like moving forward, especially right now when we have these sites that aren't being reaching full capacity every day?
Well, I wish that we were able to offer simultaneously testing sites throughout the county, inclusive of all of our municipalities, where we would get closer to those neighborhoods. Unfortunately, we can't do that because we don't have the supply of available kits to be able to do that. So what we're doing is I think, a measured approach to using the limited supplies that Dr. Pino has, and he's simply moving that around the county to be able to meet the needs geographically to coincide with some of the hot spots or the other localities that you see on that map. And we are, when I say we're limited, we are dependent on the state supply chain for our testing kits. However, I will say that the majority of the testing that's been done in Orange County has been done by the private sector, been done by hospitals such as at the Millennium Mall that Advent Health is operating. They have a site up in Seminole County, and I believe they're likely going to open an additional site here in Central Florida, but outside of Orange County itself. But for the hospitals, we would not be where we are today with the testing that has been done. So what is happening is when we try to acquire additional tests, they are being redirected from either the federal government is commandeering, I'll use that word, the supplies, and they're reallocating them somewhere else. And some other communities that may have more of a pressing need than we do here in Orange County, or they are being taken up by the state itself and they're going to South Florida. But in terms of here in Orange County and Central Florida, we don't have enough tests. We don't have enough testing kits.
What is the number of tests that you would like to have and the testing capacity that you would like to see and be happy with?
I wish, it's very difficult for us to understand what the demand is, but I believe that if we were able to have 10 or 15 testing sites that could be offering tests simultaneous, we would get more people tested. I believe the reason why some people don't sign up for the appointments is It may be a transportation challenge that they have, or just a lack of familiarity. It's on the opposite side of town. So they're waiting now until those mobile testing locations come to an area closer to them. And if you're there for one day, you do what you can that day, and then you're moving forward into another community. So I believe that the science behind the virus that we're dealing with now will be more definitive if we had more tests that were being done. And this is something that is consistent across the country in every metropolitan area you are hearing. It's all about the testing, because not only are we, even though I'm not a physician, but I've done a lot of reading here lately, not only are we trying to understand our current experience, but how this virus will behave for the future. And the more information that we have, the more I think the medical science will be more precise to give us, from the public sector in a leadership role, what we need to make quality decisions. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay.
My question's for Dr. Pino. Lauren Seabrook with Channel 9.
Ask them all the medical questions. You'll be reading.
Hi, Dr. Pino. I've been speaking with some people who have loved ones in some of those long-term care facilities that popped up on the list. Unfortunately, some of them didn't know till they saw it on the list. They would like to know, what is the health department doing in those specific places? And are you sending strike teams to all of them? If you could just kind of lay out what you're doing with them.
So, yes. In some cases, as earlier as 4/18, we were sending nursing strike teams. So it all depends on what we see. So first, all facilities in the county were visited by the National Guard, strike team, and EMS to assess infection control measures in those places. All of them. And we have a detailed table with the findings and everything that we need to follow up in each of the cases. On top of that, also every time that a positive case shows in a place, we do a joint visit with ACA to the places, and also address, again, infection control measures, try to see how the transmission happened, what happened. It could be that a case infection was acquired outside or from someone that came from the outside. In some cases, there are employees that have been tested positive. And in other cases, some of the facilities have taken up on themselves to test all the employees and all residents. So we have a case in one of the facilities that otherwise they would have not have zero cases, but they decided to test, which is great. If I want a family to be in a place, we'll be in that place that has been so responsible. That company decided to test everyone. They detected 6 asymptomatic patients, and 1 employee. So that's also how critical symptomatic transmission is. And in that case, because they did that, we were able to address any issues even before anything happened in that place. So that's where we are. They are all a little bit different. It depends on the type of services that they offer. It depends on the type of patient that they have. If you have a patient with dementia, severe dementia is different than assisted living facility. So there are conditions and criteria in each of those cases.
And just to follow up on that, none of the people that I spoke with were putting any kind of blame on any of the nursing homes, but they would kind of like to maybe know from you, should they feel comfortable leaving their loved one there? Or, they feel a little bit helpless.
Yeah, it's a debate. Is this one of the situations where both sides are wrong and right? Part of the debate is that their addresses of those individuals reside, which is a facility, is also HIPAA protected because it's their address, it's a permanent place of residence. It happens to be they all live in a communal place, which is an assisted living facility. That's one point. The other point is the family members will say to you, I would like to know if anyone is positive so I can do more to protect my loved one. So I think, I don't know, I wasn't part of the discussions at the state level, but I'm pretty sure there's a competing interest of privacy and public health. And when public health trump privacy, then the disclosure happened, and I think that's what happened in this case.
Hey, Eric Mock, Spectrum News 13. Another question for you, Dr. P. Yeah, don't go anywhere. So we know at the Orange County Convention Center testing site, they started to see a drop-off too in the amount of people who were showing up to get tested. And a lot of people thought, well, that might be because they still have requirements, not just anyone can get tested. Now at these sites, you're saying anyone can get tested regardless of symptoms, whatever, but you have to make an appointment. Do you think the appointment aspect is why you're not seeing you've reached full capacity at these testing sites?
It could be. It could be that because we are asking people to make an appointment, it could be a deterrent for some people who may want to just go out at any time. And again, we have taken people without appointments. We don't want these to be disorganized. We don't want people to wait for hours in a line. And also, we don't want to disturb, because now we are inside neighborhoods. We are not in parking lots. We are not in big spaces. So we don't want to disrupt the life of the neighborhood like that. But also it could be the case, the orange side and our side, we are government. So some people don't want to interact with government. And some people don't want information to be disclosed to the government. So it could be that that's part of the issues. And we have a large segment of our population that is undocumented in the county. And I wonder if that percentage is not coming to us. So how can we reach it? How can we make them feel comfortable that it's okay to come to us to do this testing? And that could be a reason why private sites are doing better than government sites.
Well, and you bring up a good point about, like you said, people not wanting to be identified. Now, you said ID is not required, though, but would there be a point where you would waive the appointment aspect of that and just let anyone?
Yeah, we could. If we see that it doesn't work, we would. But also we have residual testing. We will go around and down. And it is not about how much testing you do. It's about that everyone who wants to be tested, when they want to be tested or need to be tested, can be tested. And that's going to be the challenge.
And then if I may, a question for Mr. Howard over here from the district. You had said that you're making plans so staff can, the majority of staff can be home Tuesdays and Thursdays during the week. Does that include, everyone? Are we talking bus drivers, food service workers, janitors, the ones who are supposed to, report to work?
So we have our essential employees that have been identified that are working on cleaning and meal distribution and things like that. The vast majority of our employees are already working from home. We've been in the process of making that happen even when we were on a Monday through Friday schedule. Now, because of wanting to help keep more individuals at home and protect our employees, to protect our community, is to limit the 3-day-a-week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Work still continues. Employees are still working their hours during that week. Of course, bus drivers are in a unique situation. They were helping out in different areas and they're home, but others that have direct contact with students are continuing that work.
But so are they going to be able to go home though Tuesdays and Thursdays when the meals aren't being distributed then?
So, yes. So our school sites, district offices will all be closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Work will continue. We'll still have operational hours from 9 a.m. to 2. Phones won't necessarily be answered at the sites. Obviously, they won't be there, but work will continue as far as doing their work in the background.
And then was the district already preparing for this? Because it just felt like this was only a matter of time before the governor announced this. So were you already preparing for this, and how were you able to, say that we're ready for the rest of the year?
So absolutely. So from the beginning, we need to make sure that we're getting ahead of this, because if you're not ahead of it, you're going to be behind it and get caught up. So we were making plans all along, trying to stay weeks ahead of any decision and being able to pivot depending on whatever decisions were made by the governor and the commissioner of education.
Kelsey Thord with West 2 News again. I have one more question for Dr. Pino. Could you just talk a little bit more right now as to where you think we are in the curve of things? If you think we've reached that peak, I know you guys were talking yesterday, you saw a lot of different predictions. Can you just give us the update on that?
So if you look at our curve, and that's why we haven't put it out yet, and it's ready, we have it. If you look at the curve, it looks like we already peaked. Now, the curve is based on daily number of positive cases. So there was a little glitch in the system, like 2 days. And if I had the curve in front of me, I could tell you which day, but it was in April, in the first half of April. Quest Lab was not able to report electronically for some glitches in the system. So like the third day, they report a large number of cases, maybe 100 cases. I'm just recalling from memory. So it looks like that day we peak. So we have been careful not to artificially, just to be sure that we are not artificially peaking because of what happened with the lab test. But since then, and it has been probably maybe close to 3 weeks now since that happened, we have seen a continued decline of that number. But not only the curve is showing that, also other metrics that we have in place are showing that. But that's not a reason to be complacent about it. It's not a reason for people to discard or disregard the measures that has been put in place. It's actually the time to increase what we are doing, to put more gas into this car and drive the thing out of the county.
It's Steve Hudak from the Sentinel. I have questions for both Mayor Dyer and Mayor Demings. I don't care how you guys decide to field these. One is, do you have any idea how many Orange County businesses got bridge loans? And with that money having been exhausted, what should the state do, in your opinion?
I don't know how many Orlando businesses got them. I know a lot of business that applied for the PPP as well as bridge loans and were not successful. We're hopeful that Congress is going to reach an agreement between the House and the Senate to resupply funding to the economic programs that are in the CARES Act. I talked about a program the other day that we have with the Orlando Economic Partnership that provides an ambassador. I would encourage businesses, especially small businesses, to go ahead and register there so that they, when funds do become available, they have somebody that can help them navigate through the red tape and make application as quickly as they can.
That's the BRACE program, right?
The BRACE program, exactly.
Okay. I don't know the number. Our staff is working to try to understand how many individuals actually received the loans. So part of that information is within the federal database and not within our local database. So trying to understand that is part of what we will endeavor to do. When we have the task force conference call a meeting, the virtual meeting on Wednesday, we hope to have some preliminary data, and that will be discussed at that time.
Also, for both of you, you both have been very strong voices for our community during this crisis. Neither of you were named to the state's task force. What do you think of the makeup of the task force that the governor's put together, and how can we make sure that Orange County is, their viewpoints are represented accurately?
Well, you know, you'll see Mayor Dyer and I, we'll stick our nose into a lot of things as the leaders of this community, and our goal will be to work with whoever the governor puts into place. You know, what went into his decision-making about those individuals that he selected, you know, only he could tell you that. So I would encourage you to ask the governor about that. But our goal is to ensure that our community recovers as quickly as it possibly can.
You know that our history has been to work with virtually anybody that if it benefits our community. So worked with a lot of Republican governors since I have been mayor, and this administration's a little bit different. They don't reach out. I speak with my other mayors from St. Pete and Tampa on a pretty frequent basis, and I know that this administration hasn't reached out to virtually any of the mayors in the I-4 corridor.
Thank you. And this is my last question about this. Maribel Gomez Cordero and Myra Uribe have arranged for tomorrow to have their own sort of English-Spanish update, I guess, press event. Some people have reached out to me and suggested that there's a possibility for a mixed message. What do you think about that?
I don't see that as a mixed message. I encourage our commissioners who represent their various constituents to engage, and they just both happen to be bilingual. They will be within their respective communities or geographical boundaries tomorrow, but we're supporting them. I mean, we're providing them with the information they need, so I don't see any concern about mixed messaging there. In fact, one of my staff members will be there to help support that effort. Iria Torres is one of the special assistants out of my office who will be there to assist in that process. So I don't see it as anything controversial at all.
And not necessarily about the county meeting, but on the city side of things, we try to provide our city commissioners with as much information as we can, because they're out on the front lines as well, and they're being asked questions, and we want to make sure that they have accurate information that they can convey to their constituents.
Yeah.
Buenas tardes, Félix Pirela de Telemundo. Tengo dos preguntas, la primera para el doctor Pino, la segunda para la comisionada Maribel Cordero. Doctor Pino, queremos que nos responda en español cuál es el balance con respecto a los ancianatos o los centros de cuidados para las personas de tercera edad acá en el condado Orange. Tenemos acá la lista en la página web del Departamento de Salud y la lista oficial. Hay 12 centros, al menos 12 centros de envejecientes acá en el condado Orange con casos positivos, pero anoche nos comunicamos con uno de ellos que se llama Encore, que está en Avalon Park, y su directora nos respondió que ellos no tienen casos positivos. ¿Están los directores tomando en cuenta que muchos de estos centros de cuidados son privados? ¿Estos centros de cuidados o ancianatos están colaborando para reportar a tiempo los casos reales?
Sí, ellos, los casos tienen que ser reportados por la ley y los casos no son reportados. Los ancianatos reportan los casos, pero nosotros tenemos lo que se llama triangulación de las bases de datos. Es decir, nosotros recibimos la misma información a diferentes lugares. La recibimos del ancianato y la recibimos también del laboratorio que hace la prueba y da el resultado, y también el médico o la enfermera que ordena la prueba tiene que reportarlo si el caso fuera positivo. Si esas bases de datos todas vienen juntas, y entonces determinamos cuál es la realidad. Ese lugar está, lo tengo en la lista con dos casos, un paciente y un trabajador. Pudiera ser que la persona con la que hablaron no lo sepa, es posible, es poco probable, pero también debo decirte que las listas, siempre que se generan, necesitan limpiarla, verificar la base de datos. Incluso ya tuvimos que quitar dos sitios de la lista que estaban incluidos porque no reunían los criterios necesarios. Es posible que suceda, tendríamos que verificar qué es lo que está sucediendo.
¿Cuál es el balance total de todos los centros entonces?
Tenemos 17 casos de pacientes afectados que viven en ancianatos del condado, en 10 de los ancianatos que tenemos cerca de 199 en el condado.
Muchísimas gracias, doctor Pino. También la otra pregunta quizás pueda ser respondida por el doctor Pino, pero primeramente quisiera que respondiera la comisionada Maribel Cordero, y tiene que ver con el punto más caliente acá, donde hay más casos al este de Orlando, comunidades al sureste también de Orlando, donde la mayoría de las comunidades son hispanas, algunas de ellas son personas de bajos recursos, y el centro que estarán disponibles al este de Orlando será el South Community Park, que estará abierto mañana, pero hasta el viernes ahí no había un centro de transporte público. Queremos saber, comisionada y doctor, ¿han tratado de buscar alguna forma de trasladar a las personas allá, algún plan B, o instalar un centro específicamente en esas comunidades?
La respuesta es sí a los dos. Hoy transportamos a algunas personas. Generalmente cuando ofrecemos transportación lo hacemos a personas que están incapacitadas. Generalmente no lo ofrecemos al público en general, porque se convertiría en una operación un poco difícil de poder manejar operacionalmente. Si tenemos 1,000 personas, todos viven en una dirección diferente y tenemos que enviar 1,000 autos o vehículos a trasladar a esa gente, es un poquito complicado. La solución en realidad para todo esto es continuar incrementando el nivel de testing que hacemos en la comunidad, y ese es el esfuerzo que el alcalde estaba diciendo. También haremos si tenemos los recursos y existe la demanda, podemos también hacer otro tipo de rueda alrededor de nuestras comunidades. Y también, como había dicho, el alcalde estaba interesado, si tenemos los recursos necesarios, de hacer strike teams que van pueden ir a una iglesia, pueden ir operaciones más pequeñas que pueden atraer el número pequeño de gente que tal vez necesite ese tipo de asistencia. Pero en esta operación larga que estamos haciendo con el movimiento de recursos, no se presta para ese tipo de operación. Pero strike teams, donde podemos hacer pruebas en un centro comunitario, en una iglesia, en un negocio, en un lugar familiar, y en el que podamos atraer un grupo de gente, está entre las perspectivas de lo que queremos hacer. Comisionado.
Buenas tardes a todos. Soy Maribel Gómez Cordero, comisionada del Distrito 4 de Orange County. Y para tu pregunta y para hacerlo un poquito más fácil, porque mucha gente dice, ay, pero ¿cómo voy a llegar? Bueno, cuando ellos llaman, se le hacen unas preguntas si usted tiene transportación, si no tiene, y ahí se hacen unos arreglos para que ellos puedan llegar a los sites. Y si no, lo que dijo el doctor Pino es correcto. Así que estamos aquí para servirle, y eso es lo que queremos, que todo el mundo sea atendido con la misma fervor que se hace a cualquier otra comunidad, para que podamos entonces servir mejor al pueblo y podamos, ¿verdad?, dejar ya de que sigamos propagando el contagio.
Ya me adelantó un tiempo como dirigente de las comunidades hispanas con algunas iglesias, algunos centros para habilitar estos posibles puntos que dice el doctor donde podrían hacer algo más local.
Sí, yo creo que ya ellos están en comunicación con algunos pastores, especialmente del área donde usted dijo, el 32822, que es bastante grande en hispano, y sí, eso ya se está visualizando y se va a hacer pronto. Claro que sí. Gracias.
So I've been asked to recap what we said in Spanish, and the question was about testing sites. And
I said that might be hard to do. That's a lot of talking.
But I can put in a sentence. It was about the testing site and all the initiatives that we have described before, and how we are going to make greater effort to serve the community that may not have access to those testing sites outside in the periphery of the communities.
Another quick question for Scott Howard, if I can, really quick. You had mentioned how you're handing out over, I think it was like 200,000 more devices to elementary school students. And, oh,
200
okay.
so far, yes, so far, yes.
Glad I asked. So 2,000 more devices. Mm-hmm. How many more devices for students are needed? And are you reaching all the students, who don't have connectivity and stuff like that? How do you know you're reaching all those families who need it?
So we're making every effort to do that. Before we started this process, we surveyed our community. We sent out a survey 4 different times in order to get some really good data on who has a device, who has connectivity. We asked about the learning packet option. And so we're using that data and really focusing on our 4th and 5th graders in our Title I high need schools first, and making sure we're getting the devices to them. We know that, because of the half-penny sales tax and our initiative to go to one-to-one digital, we've been able to do that 6 through 12. For those students, and we had cohorts in line for elementary students to start rolling those out. And so we've just accelerated that. We've started the process of getting them to the students in need first, who've answered the survey that they have a need, and then focusing on those schools. We're also making provisions in our non-Title I schools to be able to get devices to them, for devices that are actually in the school now that could be distributed to those students that are free or reduced lunch students in need.
This question comes from Melissa Thomas with Florida National News. This one's for you, Mayor Demings. She goes, what is the current status of the rental assistance program, and have any funds been distributed to date?
Oh, yes. Funds have been distributed, and at this point, the 27,000 applications that Orange County received have all been reviewed at this point, and as we continue to await documentation that's necessary in order to cut the check. Remember, the checks are not issued to an individual, they're issued to the landlord to cut down on the fraud, et cetera. So that seems to be moving forward. At tomorrow's Board of County Commission meeting, there'll be an update on all of the programs that we have offered to date. And so I would say to her, tune in.
This next one comes from Ryan Lynch in the Orlando Business Journal. What's the possibility, Mayor, that the county task force will confer with the state's task force or other county task force on restarting the economy?
I would expect our local task force to also have some communication with the state's economic recovery task force as well, in order to ensure that we have adequately taken into consideration any type of federal or state mandates. We have to understand that for our local experience as well. So we are working together on that.
This next one's for Dr. Pino from Jennifer Marcel with El Sentinel. With the latest numbers, it was said that as more testing has been done, newly confirmed COVID-19 cases have dropped. It was still the deadliest week yet. Community comments do not trust the reported numbers and are concerned that they are way higher than reported. If there aren't enough tests, how can people trust the numbers reported? What's your message over those concerns to the community? And also, what messages do you have for those who keep pushing to open Florida and are convinced herd immunity is the only solution? She'd like that answered in Spanish and English.
That was a lot of questions. You may have to repeat it at some point. So with regard to the numbers and the data, we have no reason to hide any data or any number. So I will not be here talking to the public and putting 20 years plus of a professional career on the front line to lie about any numbers that could be easily find. Anyone can find, the numbers are the numbers. Now, the numbers change, and that may give people some type of anxiety about the reliability of the data. And it's because it changed constantly, the pandemic. And if we find where the person lives, where they last, what is the official place of residence, all that information change. And then it changed the allocation of the numbers across the nation. But the numbers are accurate, and we have no intention or objective or goals by lying about the numbers. Now, the tests continue to increase, and the positivity rate continue to decrease, and that's what you want to see. Actually, what is happening is what we would like to see happening. Now, why are we still talking about increasing the numbers? It's because at the beginning and at the end of the pandemic, that's where more critical testing is, because it's to separate the ill from the well, and then to be able to avoid transmission further than like this. When you are in the middle of the pandemic, like we may be or living already, so testing is less significant because you have to assume that everyone has it and it's the only way to protect yourself. En español, la pregunta fue si que la gente no confiaba en los números que estábamos ofreciendo. Y mi respuesta fue que no tenemos ninguna ganancia ni ningún objetivo en mentir acerca de ningún número. Pudiera ser que un número aquí y allá cambia, porque las bases de datos están cambiando constantemente, pero no hay ninguna intención de mentir y no hemos mentido con ninguno de los números. Con respecto a la otra porción de la pregunta, y es por qué continuamos diciendo que necesitamos más testing cuando el número de gente que está yendo a hacerse las pruebas y el número de personas que están haciendo positivas están disminuyendo. Y mi respuesta fue que eso es lo que queremos ver. Queremos ver que hay una disminución del número de personas que están siendo positivas, y eso indica que tal vez la pandemia esté cambiando en la comunidad.
And And I think she had on the back end here, what message for those who keep pushing to open Florida and are convinced herd immunity is the only solution?
I was trying to avoid that one. So we all want a business to be open. We all want everything go to normal. What you don't want is to open and have to close again. That would really hurt the economy. The way that I see it, and again, I'm talking, this is myself, I haven't talked to anyone about this. I think that it has to be a gradual opening. It has to be smart. It has to be intelligent. And you have to have the ability to retract if you need to, if you see an increase of the numbers, so that you can reevaluate and assess. More of the opening of the economy is not only about economics, it's also about epidemiologically speaking, which is the best way to go so that we don't increase the chances of transmission. En español, la respuesta a esa pregunta, la pregunta fue que ¿cuál es la respuesta para las personas que están empujando para que se abra el Estado? Y la respuesta fue que todos queremos que el Estado se abra y todos queremos que la economía se abra. Pero la apertura tiene que ser una apertura inteligente y gradual, en una manera que podamos tener la habilidad de parar o retroceder si vemos que la epidemia cambia a medida que estamos abriendo la economía.
Okay, with that, we'll end the press conference. Thank you to Dr. Pino, Commissioner Gomez-Cordero, for your translation into Spanish today. You had to do double duty. And I got to give a shout out to our sign interpreter here. He did a fantastic job. Thank you, sir, as well for the work that you do. He's been with us for a number of these press events. So thank you all for being here, and we'll update you within the next couple of days. Thank you.